Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone. My name is Riley. I am the developer advocate here at Gadget, and today I'm going to build a sample small little app in Shopify that uses Shopify's, I guess, newish as of the last edition's release admin extensions. So I'm going to use the admin action and admin block extensions, and I'm also going to build a little admin embedded app using Gadget. If you have any questions before I get started, there is a little Q&A box that you can use that's included in Zoom. So I do have that on my other screen. I'll be monitoring it. Just feel free to type anytime, and if I see it, I'll answer. If not, I will go through questions at the end as well. And without further ado, I think I'm going to get started. So I'm going to start by showing you what I'm going to build. I've got a sample little app here. So this is my embedded app in the Shopify admin. It's for creating and managing VIP or loyalty programs, if you will. So this isn't the best UX, but it is an example of an admin app. So you can see these are VIP programs I've already created, gold, silver, bronze, platinum. I can always create a new one. Plastic for people who are VIPs, but not really VIPs. Oh, there we go. So now I have this new plastic VIP program, and all I'm doing in my app is I am adding a discount, an existing discount code, and relating that to a VIP program. So summer, buy one, get one. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so all I'm doing is tying a discount to the VIP program. At the end of the webinar, I'll talk about some other ways that maybe you could extend this general idea. So what I've done is create a new VIP program. This is my embedded admin app. And now if I go to customers, this is where we can find the admin extensions. So admin extensions in Shopify are similar to checkout extensions. If you've used those before, you can actually build blocks and actions right into Shopify's admin. It's only on select pages right now, so it's orders, products, and customers. But how this works, you might notice that there's a little VIP program box. That's an admin block extension. It's embedded right into the UI itself. And then there are admin action extensions. So you can see here, I click more actions, add to VIP program. This gives me a little widget. I can then, select my plastic VIP level, save that to this customer, and I can see that this customer is part of the plastic VIP program. All this data is going to be stored in Gadget, and this allows me to run custom actions, display some information about the customer. This block extension, I can also run actions through here. So just because it's called a block doesn't mean you can't actually act on it. So if I want to delete that, the customer is no longer a VIP. So that's what I'm going to be building. I'm going to just close this tab so I don't confuse myself later. This is just a little overview of kind of how the data flow is going to work. So I'm going to have that embedded Shopify admin app that I use to create VIP programs. This VIP program is going to be a data model in Gadget. So it's going to be a custom model that I use to store information about each program. I'm going to use the records stored in my VIP program data model to generate a JSON metafield on my Shopify shop model. And the reason I am going to use a metafield is because admin extensions can access the admin API as part of their input. So if I'm sending custom data, a metafield makes sense. So I can read that metafield into my action extension. That's where I am getting the dropdown and selecting what program each customer is a part of. I'm then saving another metafield, this time on the customer, to relate that customer to a selected VIP program. That's being used as input for the admin block that's embedded right on the customer page. There's also that request to remove the customer from a VIP program, which once again updates that same meta field. And then inside Gadget on my Shopify customer data model, I'm actually going to run some custom code that then relates that customer to the VIP program record from that meta field value. So by the end of this, I will have all of my VIP program information between my customers, my VIP program records itself, as well as any sort of discount codes. All those relationships will be set up, and then it's kind of open-ended. I'm not going to have a real conclusion like where I'm emailing everyone, but that's kind of where I want to go with this. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started building. I'm going to start with building my Gadget app quickly, and then I'll try and end and focus on the admin extensions. So I'll start by creating my new app. I'll just call it extension. Perfect. Admin extension. So this will create a new Gadget app for me. If you're not familiar with Gadget, uh, Gadget is a hosted development platform. So when I create my new app, I have a Postgres database, Node.js backend, and a React front end that's powered by Vite. And I'm going to use all these components to build my embedded admin app. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I selected that Shopify starter template, I'm going to connect to Shopify. So I'll just go to my partner's dashboard and create a new app here. I'll just call it admin extension. And I'm going to copy my client ID and secret back to my Gadget app. So Gadget's managed Shopify connection helps me handle a lot of things like webhook subscriptions. We've got a built-in data sync. It handles Shopify's auth for you. It handles session tokens. So there's a ton of stuff that comes out of the box with this connection. Here I can select what scopes and data models I want my app to have access to. So I'm going to go customers read and write scope and the customer data model. And then I'm just going to read the discount scope so I can attach those discount codes and grab the discount code model. I'll press confirm. You can see that Gadget has automatically imported these Shopify data models for me. So I just need to finish setting up my app, and then I can actually run a data sync, and all my Shopify data will be imported from my development store into my Gadget database. So I'm just going to copy this app URL and redirection URL back to my partner's dashboard. Perfect. I'll press save. And now I am going to fill out the protected customer data access form. So if I go back to Gadget, you see we have this yellow call out here. Because I selected the customer data model, I do need to fill out this form so that I can properly subscribe to the customer webhooks. So I'm just going to select app functionality for now. If you're building a public app, this is important because Shopify will review it. There are particular customer fields where you have to fill out the form individually as well. So just to make it easier to identify the records, I'm going to go ahead and select the email field. It'll just make it easier to tell which customer is which in my Gadget database. So now that I've gone ahead and set up my connection there, I've done my app URLs. I'm going to go ahead and install my app on one of my stores. I'm going to choose checkout branding testing. So like I said, Gadget handles Shopify's auth for you. So I didn't have to write a line of code. I just have to click install app, and my app will be installed with the selected scopes on this development store. Perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and pin this. So this app right here, this is an embedded front-end app. It is written in React. So this is actually being hosted by Gadget right now. If I go back to my Gadget app, you can see my connection is finished setting up. There's this front-end folder, shop page JSX. That's this page right here. This page is powered by shop page JSX. So right out of the box, I have my front-end app up and running. I can start running Polaris if I want. Before I get to writing front ends though, I'm going to start with data modeling. You know what? I can actually start. I'll run the Shopify sync. So now that I've connected to Shopify, I can actually go to my shop installs. I see that my API scopes are good. I've registered to all my webhooks. I can manually press sync. There's also a way you can use code to fire a sync as soon as you install on a store. I haven't added that, but I'm just going to manually do it for now. So you can see when I click on the Shopify customer data model, these are all the fields that are included on that Shopify customer model. And if I click on data, these are my 4 customers. You remember back here, I only had 4 customers. So not a lot of data, but they're all here. You'll notice I do get the email because I filled out that protected customer data access form. I didn't do it for name, so I don't have name fields. And so this is my Shopify data. So really quickly, I was able to set up this connection, sync data into my Gadget app. The next thing I'm going to do is add a custom data model for my VIP programs. So I'm going to go ahead and just call it VIP program. And I'm going to add some custom fields. So data models in Gadget are similar to adding a table in a database, and fields are like columns. So I'm just going to create a new field for name. So each of my VIP programs will have a name. You can add as many custom fields as you want. In this case, I'm actually just going to add a bunch of relationships now. So I'm going to go ahead and create a relationship for the shop so that the VIP program belongs to my Shopify shop model. And I have to set the inverse of the relationship as well. So I want it to be has many so that a Shopify shop can have many of these VIP programs related to it. So that's what I'll select. I'm also going to relate this VIP program to customers, because this program has many Shopify customers. So each VIP program can have many customers that are a part of it. And I'll just call this field VIP on the customer model. And finally, I'll add one more relationship field, and I'll just do it to the discount code. So this is where I'm going to go. It's a belongs to discount code, and the discount code can have many VIP programs. So this is to establish the relationship that the same VIP programs can both point to the same discount code if you want. Maybe that's not how you'd want to model this in production, but that's just what I'm doing for now. So there we go. So I've now created my custom data model. If I go to the data page, there's nothing here yet. So that's the next thing that I want to do. When I created my VIP program data model, you'll notice I also got these actions, and we're actually looking at the create action now. So every time I create a data model in Gadget, I do get a customizable and auto-generated CRUD API. So I get create, read, update, delete actions. And this is how I'm going to interact and add records. Records are like rows in your database into my Gadget database. I can also add custom code here into the create action. Each action in Gadget does have two functions by default. We kind of have our own action framework, which is analogous to an API, but has some extra stuff sprinkled on top. So I have this run and on success function. Run is great for interacting with data before it is saved into the database. So this can be run or is run as a transaction. It does have a runtime limit, so things need to be pretty quick when you're putting them in the run function. And at this point, save, that's where we're actually saving our new record to the database. I'm just going to go ahead, copy and paste some code. I'm not going to do a ton of just like live coding, because that's kind of like watching paint dry when I'm doing the one doing the coding. So I'm just going to paste some code in here. You can see to the run function, all I've done is I have added a relationship to shop. So that's the shop relationship I created on my VIP program model. And I'm using this built-in connections parameter. So that is something else you get out of Gadget, just to link my VIP program to the current Shopify shop. So this is how I can support like multi-tenancy in my Fi apps, just by linking my custom models to the Shopify shop. The onSuccess function is the other function that is part of our action framework. And this is good for After Effects, side effects, or long-running actions. So for example, what I am doing here is I am getting the current Shopify shop. Remember that our record has already been saved to the database up here in run. I am going ahead and I'm using this API parameter, which is included in Gadget Actions and gives you full access to your Gadget apps backend API. I'm calling it for the VIP program, so this model. And I am actually gathering all of the VIP programs that have been created for this shop. And then all I'm doing is I am using the Shopify connection again. So I already set up the connection so I can actually access this current Shopify shop. I'm making a GraphQL request to set a meta field. The owner will be the current shop. I've got the app identifier as the namespace, VIP, and then the key is programs. And I am just storing all of my VIP programs as a JSON blob. So this blob is what I'm going to use as input into my admin action extension. Perfect. So I'm going to start building my admin front end. I'm going to go through the front end pretty quickly. One thing I need to do before I actually build out my front end is set permissions. So Gadget does come with like an access control system with different roles and permissions. By default, the Shopify app users role is what will be used by merchants using your Shopify apps. And I want merchants to be able to read, create, update, and delete this VIP program model. I can also add a filter here, tenancy, to my read action. And this also helps to enforce multi-tenancy. So if I'm looking at the Shopify customer model, there's one that's already created. All this means is that when I try and read all of my records in this model, we'll just go find VIP program. It's very similar here. So when I go and try and read my VIP program records from the database, this jelly filter will automatically be applied, and it will only return records where the shop ID on VIP program is equal to the shop ID of the current session. So this also enforces multi-tenancy. It makes sure that I can't read someone else's VIP programs, get a peek at what the competition is doing. Perfect. I'm going to go to the front end folder now. I'm going to go ahead and just create a new file, VIP page.jsx. I'm just going to dump a whole bunch of code in here, and I'll walk through this pretty quickly. So it is a bit of a long code file. This is just written in React. By default, your Gadget apps, once connected to Shopify, will have Polaris installed. So all of my actual layout components are just Shopify Polaris. I'm able to use state, so your normal React state hooks. All these pieces of state, I'm not going to walk line through this, but it's just used to control the various drop downs and text boxes that I had on that VIP program app. I'll show you in a minute. The interesting parts are some of the Gadget React hooks. So we do have this Gadget Inc. React package. We have use find many and use action hooks. So use find many is a React hook we supply for you so you can reactively read data from your Gadget database. And you can see it provides data fetching. There's also an error if you look down here. So this gives you your data once the fetch is complete. There's also a fetching Boolean you can use to display a loading status, and errors you can use to either display an error or handle the error to your users. You can also class in queries. So for example, I don't need to select all of the fields on my model, or if I want to select a cross-load relationship, I can do that. I can also filter, I can also sort using this use find many. It's really just a wrapper around the read API. You don't need to use these use find many hooks. You can also just go api.shopifydiscountcode.findMany. So that's the other option. This just helps me handle it in a reactive way. We also have use action hooks. So these are for your create, update, delete, or custom actions. And these response objects here also have delete, fetching, and error. And finally, you get another parameter that is a function to actually run your action. So you can see for create program, I'm actually running it in a callback down here that is called as part of a form. So that's when I enter the name of my VIP program, like plastic I did at the beginning, press create. This callback is called and a VIP program is created. So I'm going to go ahead in app JSX. We have our router set up. I'm just going to go VIP page. I'll import it at the top here. You will notice that we have this API right above. So Gadget does automatically initialize an API client for you. Perfect. So in this API.js, so this is just the API client I'm using in VIP page to actually, call my actions. And this is your API client for your Gadget backend. So there is a separation between backend and front end, but because it's all in the same window, it can be a little tough to tell the difference, but we do set that up for you. So now that I've gone ahead and built my front end, I've gone through the hooks. So these are just a bunch of use effects to populate React state, like what programs already exist, what discount codes are we using. There's an update program, which is when I select the discount code and press save, that runs. Down here, I'm not going to walk through this right now just for time, but this is all it's React Polaris or Shopify Polaris. So nothing crazy about this. So now if I go back to my admin app, press refresh, we do have HMR included with our front ends, but there is a timeout. So just something to be aware of. I think it's 2 or 3 minutes. But if I am just live developing, HMR will work. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of VIP programs. We'll add gold. We'll add silver. You can see they're available here. You can add some discount codes to the silver plan. Press save. So that works. Remember that every time I create that VIP program, I am running the custom action I added to my create. And this is actually saving that metafield blob to my Shopify shop. So it would be nice if we could actually view that metafield data, and we can in Gadget. So I am just going to, here we go, in my Shopify shop. This isn't really necessary, but it is just for display purposes. I'm going to go ahead and store data from a metafield. Now, the namespace I'm using here when I create is the app ID. What I've done is I've actually just logged it so I can grab this namespace. Oh, it's right here. So I'm just going to copy and paste that in to my metafield. I'll register the namespace, and then the key was programs. And this is a JSON metafield. I'll store it as JSON here. Fantastic. So now if I run my sync again, because I've already added some VIP programs, I should see my programs in my Shopify shop data. So here's my shop. Should have a VIP program string somewhere here. VIP metafield. Perfect. So we can see that, yeah, we have our gold and we have our silver VIP programs stored in a metafield. So we know that's working. Now I'm going to go ahead and add one additional metafield here to my Shopify customer, because we also want to be able to save a metafield to the customer. So I'll just call this VIP program. You notice we still have this VIP, which is the actual relation. So we're going to need to do some management between these two things as well. This one, I just hard-coded VIP program and customer program here. And I can register this namespace. I'm going to leave it as a string for now. So like I said, we do need to add a bit of code to the Shopify customers update action to make sure that when my metafield changes, I establish or remove this relationship or update it. I'm just going to paste in more code. So this is once again in our run action. What we're doing is we're checking to see Gadget has built-in change detection that you can use. So I'm checking to see if my VIP program metafield has changed. If it has, I'm grabbing the actual program from the VIP program database, and then I'm just updating my relationship to that new program ID. If it doesn't exist, so if I'm actually removing, where's the check here? So I'm checking to see if it's null. If it is null, I'm actually just nulling out the relationship, and that will remove the program for me. I have some sample code down here in on success as well. This is just if you wanted to, like, when you set a VIP program on a customer, you want to send out the discount code right away, like send them an email or text. You can also do that down here. This code right now is just, it's logging the discount code, but you could do that kind of action. It's mostly just for display purposes. So that should be all we need for our data modeling. Now that I have my metafield set up on customer, I'm actually ready to start building my admin extensions. So I'm going to go here. I've got the old one running that I displayed earlier. I'm just going to go, let's go clear this. I'm going to go PNPM, Shopify, PNPM create, Shopify app latest. So this will create a new Shopify CLI app for me. And in order to build extensions, if you haven't built an extension before, you do need to use the Shopify CLI. I'll just call this admin extension. You can start with a remix template, but I'm using Gadget to handle my embedded front end. So I'm actually just going to go an extension only app, and Shopify will spin up some bit of scaffolding for me. I'm going to go ahead and open this in VS Code once it's done. Perfect. Let's open a folder here. Admin extension is right here. And we can see we have very light scaffolding. It's really just some configuration files. So let's go ahead and add my actual extensions. Oh, admin. Geez. Admin extension. So PNPM generate extension. Shopify also just gives you the command up here. So I'm going to go ahead and run generate extension. First, I have to select my partner's organization, Rally Test Stuff. It's very important that I select connect it to an existing app. and select the same partners application that I use to connect my Gadget app to Shopify. Otherwise, you're going to have two different apps. And I want to create one extension of an admin action and one of an admin block. So I'm going to go ahead and do the admin action first. I'll just leave it as admin action and JavaScript React. So that's fantastic. I will do it one more time. I'll just get all the generation over with now. This time I will choose an admin block and JavaScript React. So you can notice that there's an extensions folder here already. I am going to pm dev. So while it's starting up, I can see I've got my admin action and admin block extensions. They're both pretty simple right now. They've got TOML files that we'll want to change, as well as source code files here where the actual extension code is contained. So, oh, here we go. I need to check my store. So this is also important that I check the same store that I'm using my embedded app on. I'll go check out branding testing. Awesome. Started. And now if I go back to my store here, go to the customers page, nope, products page. So by default, if I look at the TOML file, there's this target property that points to where in the Shopify admin your extension is going to render. And it also, this is very nice, it lists all the places you can actually render. So for that block extension that shows right up on the customers page, or customers page in our VAP app, you can put it in the product, order, or customer details page. So if I go over here, click on one of my products, by default, it's always set to product. Scroll down to the bottom, you see we've got this admin block. So that's my admin extension. It's baked right into the customer page now. I also created my action extension. So if I go to more actions, it's a new button that appears. I have my default action extension. So that's very cool. So they're both default to the customer details page. I can just update these targets to move them to customer. Defaults to product, sorry. So if I go customer, that will update my block extension. I also have to update the target here in the actual source code file. So that should move my block extension over to customer page. Action extensions, they're actually way more targets for your actions. So I'm going to move it to my customer index selection action first, just to show this off. And I'll make the same change here. Perfect. So now if I flip back and go to my customer page, so because I moved the customer target to the customer index instead of the details page, and I chose selection action, if I select a couple of customers, I can see, hold on here, let me just refresh. If I select a couple of customers here, I see that I have my admin action available on this page instead of on the details page. So that's something else to keep in mind, is that you can write custom actions here. I can also actually remove this selection target. Just save those changes. Refresh again. And all of a sudden, there's a more action button up top with my admin action. So you do have flexibility when you're dealing with actions. You can go on the kind of index pages or on the details. For our actual app, I'm going to want to go details. I'll just update this. Update this. Perfect. And just refresh to make sure. And now if I go into an actual customer, I can see I've got my admin block. Should have an admin action. Let's go check it out. Customer details dot action. Maybe I messed up the customer details dot action. Looks right. Let's try this here. There we go. Something was a little funky. So we've got my action extension. So now I am going to start with my action extension code. I'm just going to add a utils file first, and I'm going to use this utils file to handle the GraphQL requests. So when you're writing and working with admin extensions, you do have a use API hook. Let me just actually copy I'm actually going to go through the default code first. So you have this use API hook. You notice that we set the target up top here. We have this React extension hook from Shopify that's setting the target and rendering our app, which is just whatever's rendered in this file. The use API hook is a core piece of the admin extension API. And this is actually how you get the current data. So I'm looking at the customer details page, for example. This data field is available. And when I go like data selected at 0 and ID, this will be the current customer ID. I believe if I'm looking at the index page, I'm getting an array of IDs, whether it's selected customers or just all customers visible. You also get internationalization. So you see there's a locales file that you can change baked in. The target is the current extension target. And then there's close. So close action for action extensions. When you press close or done, you want this thing to actually go away, the little modal. So the close action supplied by use API does just that. If I scroll down to the components, you can see close is just being called on the button press. Finally, what the default extension does is there's a use effect that gets the product info. So it uses the current ID that we're getting from that data provided by the use API hook. It's making a GraphQL request. Now, Shopify admin extensions do allow you to use the built-in fetch in order to get direct access to the admin API. So any admin GraphQL API requests that you can make, you can do that right here in your checkout extension. I anticipate a question that people will ask is, can you use this fetch to do external requests, so non-Shopify requests? I attempted it. I wasn't able to get it working. That doesn't mean you can't. I couldn't find anything in Shopify's docs about it. So just be warned, I'm considering this right now just a way to access the admin API, which is why I'm using metafields to pass data instead of querying Gadget directly. So all this is doing, it's making the request with this query. It's getting back product data, setting the product title. Now, this is just the Shopify default scaffolding. If we actually go back, it's not actually showing the current product title. So something might be a little funky. That's okay. Remember that these extensions, I believe the actual admin extension is widely available now. You can install it on stores. The admin block extension is actually still in developer preview. So that's just another little note. So I'm going to go ahead and update my action extension here. I'm just going to paste my custom code on top here. Close up the TOML files. And then I've got this util file. I am just going to walk through code. So back to my action extension. So I've updated this for customers. You can see my target, customer details still. I'm still setting the extension target and rendering my app. I'm using use API to get the current customer ID through data. I can use just plain old React state here. So I'm using some state to get the current customer email, as well as the available VIP programs, and finally the selected VIP level. So remember that our action extension is going to have a little drop down. So VIP level is just the current selection, and VIP programs are all the options that populate that drop down. In my use effect, I'm doing the same thing that the default Shopify template did. I'm just making some GraphQL requests to get data. But in this case, I have this utils file that I'm using to handle my GraphQL requests. So I'll take a peek at that in a minute. But I'm just getting what are all my available VIP programs. By default, I'm just setting the current selection to the first available program. If you're actually building a production app, you might want to see if the customer is already part of a VIP program and pre-populate with that. But I'm not doing that right now. Finally, this is just an example of, you can also just get customer data. So for the VIP programs, I'm specifically querying my shop meta field that I saved. This customer data, I'm just making a request against the get customer mutation or query in GraphQL. So it's really just an example. Let's go into utils, because this is where all the GraphQL handling is. So Shopify has a tutorial on doing admin and block extensions. I'm not going to lie, I pulled the utils file largely straight from their sample and modified it. So they have this make GraphQL query helper that I'm using. It just helps make a query against the admin API. I have my get customer query. So this is literally just making a query against customer, giving the passed in ID. So that's what I'm getting from that use API hook, the current customer ID. and getting the email. And then I have my get VIP programs. So I'm actually just getting the current shop and I'm grabbing that meta field that I saved with my gold and silver VIP programs, getting that meta field value. Here, this is kind of bad. I should probably be doing this in my actual action extension, but I'm just modifying some of the JSON response and setting it back in the format so that the select dropdown can just automatically use it. That should really be in the other code file though. Finally, I have an update VIP program. So that's when I actually click save. I want to just set a meta field. And I am doing this on the customer. I'm saving it with the VIP program on customer program namespace. Remember, that's what we set up here on our Shopify customer model. And this will just save whatever the currently selected VIP program is. So I am using a callback here in onSubmit as part of the button press. So it will update the VIP program with the currently selected VIP level and customer ID. Now, when I'm building my front end code, my actual display components, you have a subset of components that Shopify provides for you. So you're not using Polaris. If you've built checkout extensions, it's going to feel pretty similar. So there's just a very limited set of components you have access to. There's some form components, you get buttons and links and such. There's media, these admin action, admin block are kind of the core components that you're using, as well as some structure. So you'll notice that in the key thing to note about the admin action is you get primary and secondary action buttons. So this is what I'm using for the save and close buttons that are going to be a part of my little modal pop-up. And then all I'm doing is I'm using a select, which is a dropdown to display the VIP levels and displaying text for the current customer, just as an example. So let's go back here. If I go back to my store, I'm just going to refresh again to make sure we're up to date. And we can see, okay, perfect. So I got the current customer's email. I see my VIP levels. I can go ahead and press save. And that should save that meta field to my customer. I can actually go back and check. Make sure it was properly saved in Gadget. So we see VIP program is silver. That's my meta field. And then VIP is 2. So that's the relationship. So that's fantastic. We know that that is working. And I can now pull this data into my admin block extension. So block extension is going to be pretty similar to the action extension. I will once again just paste code here. I'm also going to create a utils file for this guy. Paste code here. So once again, I'll walk through the utils file first quickly, literally the exact same make GraphQL query helper. All I'm doing here is I've got, remember in my block extension, I am removing a VIP program. So this is where I am setting the meta field, but I'm setting it to null instead. So this is that same customer meta field. And then I am getting the current VIP program from the customer. So this is where I'm just grabbing the meta field from the customer and grabbing that value given a passed in customer ID. In my actual extension, looks very similar. Setting the target again, using some React state to keep track of what the current VIP program is. I'm using that use API hook to get my data and getting that current customer ID. This is my GraphQL helper function in my utils file. And all I'm doing is if the value exists or it's not null, I'm setting my VIP program state. And then I am just displaying that state here. I do have the handle delete callback. Didn't use callback here, but that's okay. And I'm just calling my remove VIP program and setting the state to null. My actual rendered components, once again, it's the same kind of subset of components that you can use for the action extensions. The key difference is the admin block has a summary. And so this summary displays, I can actually see this now if I refresh. So you can see a customer is part of the silver VIP program. The summary is if I collapse this box, it's what displays here. So it is good to have a summary. It's kind of nice. Can re-expand it. And we see that we're just displaying what the currently selected VIP program is, and we've got our delete button. So if I go back here, we're just using text. All of these are just kind of alignment various alignment and structure components. I'm not going to lie, I did copy these almost directly from Shopify's own tutorial. So, doesn't look the best, but it gets the job done for now. I'm displaying different text based on whether or not a customer is a, VIP member right now. And then if there is a VIP program selected, I am displaying that delete button. So let's go ahead and test this out now. So I was able to add a customer to the Silver VIP program. If I press delete, they're no longer a VIP customer. And if I go back to Gadget and refresh, we see that VIP is null, VIP program is null. So I'm going to go ahead and re-add to a program. I'm back to Silver here. Perfect. So this is kind of the end of our app build. So I've got my action extension. I'm actually going to show, you can change these titles as well. Let's show in the admin block here. It's sticking out and bothering me a little bit. So this is where it's changed just in your locale. So if I just go like VIP program, save, this should update it. Oh, not updating it now. Anyways, in theory, that is how you should be able to update the name of your app. That is the right extension, right? Yeah, admin block. Anyways, so what we've done, if I go back here, we built our Gadget app and we're successfully transferring or using metafields to pass information to our admin action extension and block extension. And now kind of at the end, this is where you really get to choose your own adventure, as you say. So we've got all of this data in Gadget. You have your VIP programs that are related to discounts or whatever else you want to relate your program to. You have customers that are linked to certain VIP programs and that meta field. You've got all of your programs stored on your shop. So now we have all these relationships set up. This is where you can really decide what you want to do with your VIP app. Something that I think is very interesting is you can actually add a Shopify functions extension to your extension app here. And that way you can create order or product discounts, automatically apply those to any customers that are part of that VIP program. And I think that creates a pretty powerful experience. It's nice for merchants because they can go in and just tag or even do bulk actions on VIP customers. And there's a function that just handles all of the discount logic for you. You can do tons of other stuff. Like I said, if you want to use your backend up like Gadget to send emails or text messages to customers, you can do that. So there's lots of flexibility and extensibility when it comes to these admin extensions. You also, Shopify's own tutorial, I would encourage you to go through it. You don't necessarily need an embedded admin app if you're just building an extension only app. So I'm all for use Gadget. Does it work at Gadget? But if you are building a simple app, now that you can build extension only apps in Shopify, if you just want a simple little admin block that communicates with a meta field, you don't even need to use Gadget. Gadget really unlocks the power to have extremely customizable VIP programs. Maybe you could do that with Shopify meta objects at this point, but then you can also do secondary actions. This is where you're sending emails, have secondary effects where you really need a back end or complex logic or code to run that is custom. And you can do all that within your Gadget app. Gadget also allows you to have your embedded front end. So if you do need an embedded front end, it's a nice place to look. I will get to the questions. First question here, you can use the questions box in Zoom to ask any questions that you might have. Like I said, I will be also putting this on YouTube and I can make the code available in our Discord. So you don't have to scramble to write anything down here. The first question is, do you have a dev community that I can hire to do implementations like this? People who have built apps before. We do. So we have some developers that build a ton of apps using Gadget or build Shopify apps using Gadget. If you join our Discord and ask in like the general channel, usually someone can step in and help direct, or if you just even ask the community, there's usually someone who will step in from either Gadget or just one of our developers. Another question. Prevent cross-shop data access needed inside the run in action code. So yeah, so if I go to the Shopify model, you'll notice we have this prevent cross-shop data access. So this means that only members of kind of the current store can edit this field. So you don't want someone from another store editing your customers, for example. In the VIP program, I don't have this right now, so it doesn't come by default for non-Shopify data models, so for custom models. So right here, what I'm actually doing is I'm linking using the connections object. So this kind of does a similar piece. It makes sure that you can't pass in the shop ID as a parameter and only links to the existing shop. Now, you may also want to add similar protections to your update and delete actions. Otherwise, you could have that cross merchant interaction that you don't necessarily want on your custom data models. So that is a very good point. Some sort of protection. I'm not actually positive prevent cross-shop data access works for non-Shopify models. I'll have to ask the team myself. I will get back to the person who asked the question about that, but that's a good question. At the very least, what you could do is that you can compare if the if the shop ID of the existing record, so this is if I'm updating, is not equal to the connections. So if it's not equal to connections.shopify.current shop ID, here we could just, throw error bad, good error message. So you can add this kind of protection as well to custom models. I will check to see if prevent cross-shop data access works though. Thanks for the question. We got a couple questions here. Advantages of using Gadget. So one of the questions is, what are the advantages of using Gadget for Shopify app extensions that don't require a full-fledged app? If you need to run custom logic or do things like send emails, you can use Gadget for that. However, I kind of cover this a little bit. Well, once again, like if you don't need to do any of these extra actions, like you can just use the admin or extension only a Shopify app, and you can just build an app based on extensions. When you do that, all of your scope selection and app URL settings are handled in this top level shopify.app.toml file. So it's really, if you need the extra flexibility or an embedded app, extra features that a node backend and database provides you, like I would encourage you to use Gadget. That said, if you don't need it, I don't want to make you use Gadget when you don't actually need it. So you can just build an extension only app based on your use case. How can we publish public Shopify apps on the App Store using Gadget? Right. So I didn't really walk through the whole publishing deployment flow. So what I've done here is Gadget does have kind of one-click deploys. So what I would need to do is set up a separate app in the partners dashboard, link it to my production Gadget instance, and then let me just open up partners dashboard quickly here. So if I go, this is the same app that I have linked to my development environment. But if I link my app to production, just add the app credentials, its API key and secret, need to do the URL and redirection URL again. I can just click this, and this will actually deploy my Gadget portion to my production instance. So you'll notice that the app URL we give for production apps is different. Development has this -- development, production does not. So I'd just be pointing to my partners app, and then I'd want my new partners app. If I click choose distribution, we'd want the public distribution method. And then Shopify has a series of tests they go through when you actually submit your app to the store. If you're interested in more details on that actual submission process, I believe Shopify's documentation is a good place to go. We might also have some docs. If you ask in our Discord, though, we do have people who have published both custom and public apps using Gadget, so it has been done before. One other thing to know is you have to handle GDPR webhooks, but we have docs on that as well. So next question, admin app extensions can't target outside APIs directly, but can it target a Gadget API created by us that targets an outside API? I don't think so. So when I was trying to make external requests using this fetch, I think it was in the action extension here, I was actually trying to do like a fetch, like fetch to my Gadget app. I won't type it all out here, but it would look something like this is what I was trying to test with. And then I think I just created a custom route just for, my route. So that's what I was trying to do. I had some extra parameters and such as well. This wasn't working for me. And I also tried to do it with a Gadget action. I haven't tested anything else beyond this. So like ultimately ask Shopify. I wasn't able to find anything in their docs to say whether you can or can't. So I don't want to say for sure you can't make external requests. I know for like checkout extensions, you can, but they do explicitly mention that in their docs. So as far as I could see, it didn't mention it in the admin extension docs. I could be wrong. If you reach out to Shopify on their Discord or Slack, I'm sure they'd have someone who could answer the question for you. Excellent. So one more question. How is the gadget model Shopify customer field synced with the meta field? Awesome. So when I went and set up this meta field here on Shopify customer, I do click store data from Shopify meta field. And it's when I register the namespace that sets up kind of that webhook action. So by registering the namespace, Gadget kind of handles it in the back end. And it is now part of kind of that customer meta field that comes in. So it's kind of handled under the hood. But once I do this registration on the customer model to the meta field, that data will flow freely. It'll be part of the Shopify customer payload or webhook payload. If you have any questions, we do have some more information about meta fields in our documentation. It probably explains it more clearly than I just did. One more question. Will this demo code be available in the docs? So I don't think it'll be in our documentation. I will sometime today, hopefully, sometime today. I'm going to post this video up on YouTube, and I will also post links to the video. I'll make my Gadget app forkable. So I'll paste a link so you can actually like fork the app and get the Gadget code. For all the Shopify extension code, because that doesn't actually fit into Gadget, I'll either make a Git repo or a couple gist files so that all the code will be available. And I'll post links to all that in our company Discord. So that's where you can find kind of all of this code. I'll also post links on the YouTube video to all the sample code. So the code will be available. That's all the questions I have now. Thanks so much to everyone who joined. I'll just give it another minute if any other questions come in. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for watching and hope you enjoy the weekend. Discord link. Yes, that is a good question. Discord link. Discord link. Hold on. I've got it saved somewhere. It is available on our company website. But let's see here. The link I use is that one. ggt.link/discord should bring you to the company Discord. Can we upload files to Gadget? Got another question coming in. So yes, so I'll just flip to the Gadget docs here. Where is it here? Guides. Click on guides. So we actually have a whole section on storing files, both static files for the front end, but also backend files. You can save files to your record. So if I go to my VIP program, let's say I want to, upload an image file for each VIP program, I can go down and select the file storage type, and all of these files will be uploaded to Gadget. Now, there's one other feature I want to mention. If you don't like working in Gadget, so you notice I wrote all of my code kind of in the Gadget editor here, but we do actually have a file sync feature, which allows you to write your code, your Gadget project code locally. So I can use VS Code to write my project files. There's another question. Gadget seems cool. What happens if the company shuts down? Is there a way to export your app and host it somewhere else? So it is possible to kind of export all your data. Like we do just have an underlying Postgres database, but we'd have to write a manual script to kind of export all of that information. All of your front end code, it is just a normal React front end built on Beat. So that should be very portable. Your back end code is where things get a little trickier. You just have to make sure to write your own. You'd have to write a data sync, webhook subscription, some of the stuff that Gadget takes care of for you. There are Shopify templates how to do that. It's something you'd need to do manually, but you should at least have access to all of your data. I also don't anticipate Gadget shutting down anytime soon. So hopefully that assuages any concerns you have. How can multi-devs collaborate on the same data model and merge their changes? So right now, there's no source control baked into Gadget. You can pull down your code locally, like I said, with file sync and upload it to Git there. But that doesn't do a great job of tracking changes to models. So something that we are actively working on, and kind of the big missing feature that we know we're missing is integrated source control. So the team is currently working on that. We don't have a target time for you right now, but we are aware that that's a bit of an issue, maybe the biggest issue when choosing to use Gadget, but the team is working on it. Yes, this video will be uploaded on YouTube. Another question here. Feel free to share it with other devs. I will once again be posting the YouTube link in our company Discord, or you can look at our Gadget Discord channel. Now, there's one more question. Any plugins to support autocomplete inside VS Code? When you sync your files locally, we should actually have a .gadget folder with types, I believe, that should autocomplete for you automatically. If it's not, go ahead and ask in our Discord or use the support chat in app, and we can take a look at that. I'll test it out after this because that might be a bug, but it should work for you automatically. Okay, looks like that's it for questions. So thanks again for watching. I'm going to end the webinar now. And once again, enjoy your weekend.